Good evening, America. Today is day 100. 100 days since the first American and Israeli bombs fell on Iran. 100 days since the Strait of Hormuz was shut down. 100 days since your gas prices jumped. 100 days since thousands of people began dying in Lebanon, in Iran, in Kuwait, and across the Middle East. And tonight, on this exact milestone, here is the full truth about where this war stands. The ceasefire is breaking apart on every single front at the same time. Iran is still shooting drones at the Strait of Hormuz. American forces are still striking inside Iran. 2 Israeli soldiers were killed in Lebanon today. Lebanese army soldiers, including a senior officer, were killed in an Israeli airstrike. 3,593 Lebanese people are dead, and the peace deal that was supposed to end all of this is still unsigned after 5 weeks of near announcements, day 100, and the only honest summary is this. Nothing has been solved. Tonight, we are going to give you the complete, honest 100-day reckoning that every American deserves. Stay with me. Let us begin with what is happening on the ground right now in the last 24 hours. Because the situation has deteriorated in ways that tell you exactly where this war is heading as it enters its second 100 days. U.S. Central Command confirmed Saturday that it shot down 2 more Iranian one-way attack drones that were threatening international traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. This is on top of the 4 drones CENTCOM shot down on Friday. 6 Iranian drones shot down in 48 hours, all targeting the same waterway that the entire peace deal is supposed to reopen. After Friday's drone shootdowns, CENTCOM struck Iranian coastal surveillance radar sites on Qeshm Island in what it described as a self-defense strike. Iran responded Friday night by firing 7 ballistic missiles at American military personnel in Kuwait and Bahrain. 6 were intercepted. The 7th did not reach its target. And then on Saturday, Iran sent 2 more drones toward the strait. CENTCOM shot them down. The cycle is continuing. It is accelerating. And it is doing so on day 100 of a war that both governments have been calling almost over for 5 consecutive weeks. In Lebanon, today was one of the deadliest days for uniformed soldiers since this phase of the conflict began. 2 Israeli soldiers were killed in separate incidents in southern Lebanon, according to the Israeli military. The Lebanese army confirmed that several of its own soldiers, including a high-ranking officer, were killed in an Israeli airstrike. Lebanese army soldiers, not Hezbollah fighters, uniformed members of the Lebanese National Military, the same force that the European Union this week gave 100 million euros to strengthen so it could serve as a buffer between Hezbollah and Israeli forces. That force is now losing its own officers to Israeli airstrikes. And Hezbollah carried out approximately 20 separate attacks on Israeli troops in southern Lebanon on Saturday alone, including targeting an Israeli drone with a surface-to-air missile and shelling Israeli army vehicles and soldiers near the southern town of At-Tiri. The Lebanese Army's commander, General Rudolf Haikal, is in Pakistan right now. He is meeting with Pakistani officials, the key mediators of the Iran peace process, to coordinate what the Lebanese Army's role will be in any future ceasefire arrangement. That meeting tells you something important. Lebanon's military leadership is trying desperately to find a path that saves their country from further destruction. They are not waiting for a deal to be announced from Washington or Tehran. They are traveling to Islamabad to make sure Lebanon's interests are represented in whatever emerges from the diplomatic process. And while their commander is in Pakistan, his soldiers are dying in southern Lebanon. The total count as of today is devastating. At least 3,593 people have been killed in Lebanon since March 2. 10,990 wounded. More than 1 million displaced. 116 medical workers killed in Israeli strikes. The entire southern portion of the country has been designated a combat zone by Israeli military orders. The city of Tyre, more than 2,000 years old, has been so severely damaged that its civil defense teams were ordered to evacuate to Sidon. And Beirut's southern suburbs, home to hundreds of thousands of civilians, have been ordered evacuated as Israel threatens strikes on Hezbollah's urban stronghold in the Lebanese capital. Now let us talk about the diplomatic situation on day 100, because it deserves its own honest accounting separate from the military picture. The deal between the United States and Iran is at a deadlock, according to Mohsen Rezai, the military advisor to Iran's supreme leader, who spoke to CNN yesterday. Rezai said the ball is in Trump's court. He said Iran demands $24 billion in frozen assets released as the price of peace. He warned that resumed American military operations would drag this war beyond the Persian Gulf into new geographic areas. And Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi continues to insist publicly and repeatedly that the ceasefire between Iran and the United States is, in his exact words without any ambiguity, a comprehensive ceasefire across all fronts, including Lebanon. He says any violation on one front is a violation across all fronts. He is holding Israel's Lebanon offensive as a reason for Iran to refuse to sign anything. Trump told ABC News this week that he believes a deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz is reachable over the next week. He has said something similar every week for the past 5 weeks. The week before that, he said the deal was largely negotiated. The week before that, he said he was reviewing Iran's proposal. And now, on day 100, the deal is still not signed, the strait is still not fully open, and Iran's supreme leader's own military advisor is calling the negotiations a deadlock and demanding $24 billion. Let us step back and do the full 100-day accounting that Americans deserve, because today is the day for it. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched nearly 900 strikes on Iran in 12 hours. Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei was killed. Iran's Air Force was largely destroyed. Iran's Navy was largely destroyed. Iran's missile production capacity was severely damaged. The opening military campaign was, by every conventional measure, one of the most successful opening strikes in modern military history. And then what followed was not victory. Here is what 100 days actually produced. Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, cutting off 25% of the world's seaborne oil trade. Global fuel prices surged. American gas prices rose 49% above pre-war levels. The world's most vulnerable nations faced food insecurity as shipping disruptions spread far beyond the Gulf. Iran launched hundreds of missiles and thousands of drones at American bases, Israeli cities, and Gulf Arab nations throughout the conflict. Kuwait's civilian airport was bombed. Kuwait's capital city heard air raid sirens in the middle of the night as 7 ballistic missiles were fired at American personnel. Bahrain was struck. Saudi Arabia intercepted drones. Oman was hit. In Lebanon, Hezbollah entered the conflict on March 2 when it launched missiles into Israel. Israel responded with one of the most intensive air campaigns against Lebanon since 2006. More than 3,500 Lebanese are dead, more than 10,000 wounded, more than 1 million displaced. A UN peacekeeper was killed. Lebanese army officers were killed in Israeli airstrikes. Israel crossed the Litani River for the first time since 2006. Israel captured the medieval Beaufort Castle and raised its flag. Israel issued evacuation orders covering the entirety of southern Lebanon. Israel ordered the evacuation of Beirut's Dahieh district. Lebanon's president called it a scorched earth policy. Inside the United States, the war fractured the Trump cabinet. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard resigned. Her deputy, Joe Kent, resigned in protest before her, saying Iran posed no imminent threat and the war was started due to pressure from Israel. The House of Representatives passed a War Powers Resolution 215 to 208, the first to pass either chamber, with 4 Republicans joining all Democrats to tell the president to end a war Congress never authorized. The constitutional question of whether the president has the right to wage this war without congressional authorization has not been resolved. The diplomatic process has produced 5 near deals in 5 weeks without a single signed agreement. Trump described the deal as largely negotiated on May 23. He walked into the Situation Room on May 29 to make a final determination and walked out without deciding. Iran's foreign ministry has publicly denied nuclear negotiations are taking place, even as U.S. officials describe verbal commitments on enrichment. Iran's supreme leader's military advisor called the talks a deadlock on June 6. The Strait of Hormuz remains under Iranian management, with approximately 40 ships transiting daily under IRGC supervision, compared to more than 100 before the war. Iran's nuclear program is unresolved. Iran's enriched uranium stockpile, approximately 972 pounds of 60% enriched material, remains inside Iran with no verified disposal mechanism in place. Iran's ballistic missile program is untouched in the current deal framework. Iran's proxy networks in Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and Syria are untouched. The IAEA still cannot get inspectors inside Iran. And Iran rebuilt significant military capacity, including drone production during the ceasefire period. That is the 100-day balance sheet, not a victory, not a defeat, a stalemate, a devastating, expensive, unresolved stalemate with thousands dead, economies disrupted, allies frightened, adversaries emboldened, and a peace deal that keeps not getting signed. Now let us talk about what day 101 looks like, because the choices ahead are no easier than the choices that got us here. Option one is that Trump accepts a deal closer to Iran's terms, releases a portion of the $24 billion in frozen assets, accepts a 60-day framework where nuclear talks follow Hormuz reopening, and declares a victory to the American public. The risk of that option is that Republicans who supported the war, who wanted unconditional surrender from Iran, who called the current deal framework a disaster, will say Trump gave away the store. It is the option that ends the war fastest and lowers gas prices soonest. It is the option Iran's supreme leader's military advisor is demanding. Option two is that Trump refuses Iran's terms, resumes full-scale military operations, and tries to achieve the unconditional surrender he demanded in early March. The risk is that Iran fights back harder, that the casualties mount, that the economic damage deepens, that congressional opposition grows, that regional allies face more strikes on their airports and bases, and that the war that is already 100 days old becomes a 200-day war with no clear path to military resolution. It is the option Trump himself said he would choose quickly if Iran kills American troops. Option three is the one that neither government wants to say publicly, but which the last 100 days of evidence suggests is the most likely outcome. The status quo continues. The ceasefire holds barely. Strikes happen daily on both sides and are called defensive. The deal talks continue indefinitely without a signature. The Strait of Hormuz stays partially open under Iranian management. Gas prices stay elevated. Lebanon keeps burning, and both governments tell their own people that they are winning while nothing is actually resolved. That third option is not peace. It is not war. It is exhaustion. And exhaustion has its own costs that are just as real as the costs of the first two options, paid in the economic pain of American families, in the lives of Lebanese civilians, in the strategic uncertainty of every nation that depends on the rules-based international order to protect its interests. America. Here is my question on day 100, and it is the most important one this channel has ever asked. You have now heard the full 100-day balance sheet. Thousands dead. Hundreds of billions in global economic damage. The Strait of Hormuz still under Iranian management. A nuclear program still unresolved. A war-powers constitutional crisis. A fractured cabinet. A deal at a deadlock. Here is what I want every person watching this video to tell me in the comments right now. Was starting this war on February 28, 2026 the right decision, yes or no? And whatever your answer, tell me why. Because this war was started in your name, it is being paid for with your money. It is being fought by your military. And after 100 days, you have the right and the responsibility to say what you think about it. Drop your answer right now. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Day 101 starts tomorrow, and we will be here.